Welcome back to the Virgin Palms Project Management Bootcamp. We're really getting into the meat of things now with Module 5, Project Monitoring and Controlling Staying in Control.
Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah, I mean, think of it like having a GPS for your project.
Yeah.
Make sure you're reaching your destination on time, within budget, all of that.
That's a great analogy. You wouldn't head out on a road trip without a GPS.
Right.
And projects, they're really no different. You need a system to guide you, anticipate those unexpected detours, and just keep you on course.
Exactly. And speaking of detours, think about those project management horror stories. Budget overruns,
Yeah.
missed deadlines, scope creep, all that.
Yeah.
This module is all about equipping you with the knowledge and the skills to avoid those pitfalls.
Absolutely. Being proactive is key in project management. It's not about reacting to problems, it's about anticipating them, having strategies in place to lessen their impact.
So let's dive into Module 1, why project control is critical. We're setting the foundation here, understanding why this stuff matters. It's not just ticking boxes, it's setting yourself up for project success.
Imagine a construction project where everything's running smoothly, foundations laid, walls are going up, and then bam, wrench in the works.
Oh no.
Materials delivery is delayed. Now, a project manager without a solid monitoring and control system, they might panic.
Yeah.
But a proactive project manager, the kind we're shaping you to be, they would have a contingency plan ready to go.
Oh, contingency plans.
Yeah.
Those are lifesavers, like having a plan B, maybe even a plan C tucked away for those inevitable surprises.
Precisely. They might have alternative suppliers lined up or a flexible schedule that allows adjustments.
Yeah.
It's about having those backup options ready to deploy so you can navigate the challenges without derailing the entire project.
So it's not just about avoiding disasters. It's about having that peace of mind,
Yes.
knowing you're prepared for whatever comes your way. That's what effective project control can do for you.
Exactly. It's about confidence, control, knowing you can handle those bumps in the road and keep the project moving forward.
To wrap up Module 1, project control is critical because it's about anticipating challenges, having those backup plans, and ultimately ensuring your project stays on course to achieve its goals.
Well said. And that leads us perfectly into Module 2, how to keep your project on track. Let's dive into the practical side of things and explore those key areas you need to focus on to make project control a reality.
Sounds good. So Module 2, how to keep your project on track. This is where we roll up our sleeves and get into the nitty-gritty of making project control happen.
Let's break it down. First up, we have tracking progress against the plan. It might seem obvious, but it's the foundation of staying in control. You wouldn't bake a cake without checking the recipe, would you?
I have, and it did not go well.
You can't effectively manage a project without closely monitoring progress.
So true. What are some practical ways to track project progress? Are we talking spreadsheets, sticky notes, or something a bit more, sophisticated?
There's a whole toolkit available to project managers. One classic tool is the Gantt chart. Think of it as a visual timeline that maps out all your project tasks, their dependencies, and their completion status.
Okay.
It's a fantastic way to get a bird's eye view of your project's timeline.
Gantt charts. I mean, they are a project management staple. But let's make this real for our listeners.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example of how they can be used in a real-world scenario?
Absolutely. Imagine you're managing an IT development project with a team working on a new software feature. Your Gantt chart lays out, let's say, the 5 key features that need to be completed within a specific time frame. Now, if you're regularly monitoring progress and see that only 2 of those 5 features are, say, halfway done by the midpoint.
Oh, that's not good.
That's a red flag.
Yeah. So how does the Gantt chart help in this situation?
Oh.
It's not just about visualizing the problem, right?
You got it. The Gantt chart helps you spot the issue early on and take action. It lets you investigate why the team is behind. Is there a bottleneck? Do they need more resources? By visualizing progress, it empowers you to address potential delays before they become major setbacks.
So it's like having an early warning system built right into your project plan.
Exactly. And besides Gantt charts, you have other powerful tools like Kanban boards. These are great for visually managing workflow and making task status clear to everyone on the team.
Kanban boards. Love those.
Yeah.
You know, the ones with the colorful sticky notes and the columns? They're like a visual representation of progress.
That's them. They bring a sense of transparency and collaboration to the project. And then you have project dashboards, which provide a centralized overview of key metrics like deadlines, budget status, and the overall health of the project.
So, by using a combination of these tools, project managers can get a really comprehensive view of their project's progress and make sure things are moving in the right direction.
Precisely. It's about equipping yourself with the right tools for the job and using them strategically to monitor and control your project effectively. Moving on, let's talk about another crucial area, identifying and managing risks early.
Ooh, yeah. I like to think of risks as like those unexpected potholes in the road of project management. You can't always avoid them, but you can certainly be prepared.
I love that analogy. Risks are those unpredictable events or conditions that could impact your project either positively or negatively, and being able to identify and manage them proactively is a game changer.
So how do we become, like, risk management ninjas? How do we spot those risks before they turn into major roadblocks?
One of the most powerful tools you have is a risk register. It's essentially a document that lists all the potential risks you've identified for your project. Think of it as your risk inventory. You carefully catalog each risk, its likelihood of occurring, and its potential impact if it does occur.
So it's not just listing risk, it's about understanding their potential impact and having a plan of attack.
Exactly. For each risk, you would outline your mitigation strategy, your plan to minimize the negative impact if that risk becomes a reality. It's like having a preemptive strike ready to deploy.
So risk management is an ongoing process, not just a one-time task. You're constantly evaluating, updating, and refining your strategies.
Precisely. And don't underestimate the power of those regular risk reviews. These are opportunities to bring your team together, discuss emerging risks, reassess existing ones, and ensure everyone is on the same page.
Okay. Do you have a real-world example to illustrate how risk management plays out in practice? Something that our listeners can really connect with.
Absolutely. Let's say you're running a marketing campaign and relying solely on one advertising platform to reach your target audience. What if that platform suddenly changes its algorithm or experiences a technical glitch?
Oh, that would be a nightmare. You could lose visibility overnight.
Exactly. A proactive project manager would have anticipated that risk and developed a mitigation strategy, perhaps by diversifying their advertising efforts. They might incorporate email marketing, influencer collaborations, maybe even explore traditional media. By spreading the risk, they're less vulnerable to a single point of failure.
So in this case, the mitigation strategy is about having a backup plan, multiple avenues to reach your audience if one path gets blocked. It's like having a safety net for your project.
That's a great way to put it. Proactive risk management is all about foresight, preparation, and having those safety nets in place to protect your project from that unexpected turbulence.
Okay, that was a great overview of risk management. Moving on to another key area, keeping an eye on budget and resources. I feel like this one is always top of mind for project managers.
You're absolutely right. Projects need to be financially viable, and that means carefully managing both budget and resources. It's a delicate balancing act.
So what are the key things to focus on here? What should be on every project manager's, budget and resource radar?
First and foremost, you need to track your actual costs against your budgeted costs relentlessly. Are you staying within the allocated budget, or are you starting to see those dreaded overruns creeping in?
Yeah, cost overruns, they can really sneak up on you if you're not careful. It's like those extra charges on your phone bill that you didn't see coming.
That's a great analogy. And then you have to think about resource allocation. Are your team members being utilized effectively? Are they overstretched? Nearing burnout? Efficient resource management is crucial for both project success and team morale.
Absolutely. You don't want to burn out your team by pushing them too hard or overloading them with tasks. It's about finding that sweet spot where everyone is productive and engaged.
Exactly. And sometimes, despite your best efforts, unexpected costs arise, or the project scope might need to change. In those cases, a good project manager is prepared to adjust the budget or scope as needed.
So it's about being flexible and adaptable, not rigidly sticking to the original plan if those circumstances change. So it's about being like a strategic decision maker, weighing your options and making those tough calls when necessary. Do you have a real-world example to illustrate how budget and resource management might play out in a challenging situation?
Of course. Let's say you're managing a video production project. Everything's running like clockwork, on schedule, within budget. Footage looks fantastic. Then, during the editing phase, you discover that you need some specialized visual effects. Weren't initially budgeted for.
Uh-oh, that's never good news. Visual effects can be expensive. What options does a project manager have in this situation?
Well, you have a few choices. You could try negotiating with the stakeholders to increase the budget to cover those unexpected editing costs. However, that's not always feasible.
Right, sometimes you just have to work within the constraints you're given.
Yeah.
What are some other approaches?
You could look for ways to reduce the scope of the project to offset those additional costs. Perhaps there are some non-essential scenes or visual elements that can be trimmed without compromising the overall quality. It's about making strategic cuts to balance the budget.
So it's about being creative and finding those win-win solutions that keep the project on track while still delivering a high-quality product.
Exactly. It's about being resourceful and thinking outside the box.
This is all starting to feel a lot more like strategic thinking than just checking boxes on a to-do
You're
list.
absolutely right. Project management is all about strategic decision making, anticipating challenges, and finding creative solutions to keep those projects moving forward.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about managing stakeholder expectations.
Okay.
This one feels like it has the potential for some drama. Stakeholders, they can be demanding.
Stakeholder management can definitely be a balancing act, but it's crucial for project success. After all, stakeholders are the individuals or groups who have a vested interest in your project's outcome. They can make or break your project.
Right, so we're talking about clients, sponsors, team
Yeah.
members, upper management, they all have skin in the game.
Exactly. And if their expectations aren't managed effectively, it can lead to misunderstandings, conflicts, and ultimately project derailment.
So how do we keep everyone happy and avoid those stakeholder explosions? What's the secret to effective stakeholder management?
Communication, communication, communication. It's the golden rule of stakeholder management. Regular status updates are essential. Keep stakeholders informed about progress, both good and bad. Don't sugarcoat things. Transparency builds trust.
Yeah, transparency is key. It's about being honest and upfront about those challenges, not trying to sweep things under the rug.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of regular check-in meetings. These provide dedicated time to address concerns before they escalate, gather feedback, and make everyone feel heard and valued.
It's about building those relationships and making stakeholders feel like they're part of the team, not just outsiders looking in.
You got it. And don't forget about documentation. Clear records of project decisions, changes, and agreements. This helps prevent misunderstandings down the line and ensure everyone is on the same page.
Documentation, our trusty sidekick. Can you give us a real-world example of how stakeholder management might play out in a complex project?
Absolutely. Let's say you're managing the rollout of a new enterprise software system for a large company. Everything is progressing smoothly. But then, mid-project, the client requests some additional integrations with their existing systems.
Oh boy, that sounds like a recipe for scope creep.
Yeah,
How do you navigate that situation without letting the project spiral out of control?
a skilled project manager would handle this with grace and diplomacy. They would acknowledge the client's request, explain the potential impact of these changes on the project timeline, budget, and resources, and work collaboratively to find a solution.
So it's about setting realistic expectations from the outset and having those honest conversations about the potential implications of change requests.
Precisely. And if the client insists on those additional integrations, you might need to negotiate a revised scope, timeline, or budget to accommodate the request.
So it's about finding that win-win solution that keeps the project moving forward while also meeting the client's needs.
Exactly.
It sounds like stakeholder management is a delicate dance. It requires a blend of communication, diplomacy, and strategic thinking.
You hit the nail on the head. It's about building strong relationships, setting clear expectations, and navigating those inevitable changes and requests with skill and finesse.
Okay, let's move on to our final key area for this module, handling change requests wisely. Change is a constant in project management. How do we embrace it without letting it completely derail our projects?
That's the million-dollar question. Change is inevitable, but it needs to be managed carefully to avoid chaos. Scope creep. Think of it as steering a ship through choppy waters. You need to adjust course without losing sight of your destination.
So how do we walk that tightrope between being adaptable but staying in control?
The key is to have a structured change control process in place. So this means that whenever a change request comes in, it's not automatically implemented. It goes through a system of checks and balances.
So we're talking about a system that protects the integrity of the project plan while still allowing for some flexibility.
Exactly. The first step is to assess the impact of that proposed change. How will it affect the project timeline, budget, quality, scope? Is it even feasible within the existing constraints?
So it's about being realistic and objective, not letting emotions or pressure dictate your decisions.
Absolutely. And once you've assessed the impact, you need to get approval from the relevant stakeholders before proceeding with the change. No rogue decision-making.
Right. It's about maintaining control and ensuring all changes are carefully considered and approved before they're implemented.
Precisely. This structured process minimizes the risk of scope creep and those dreaded project derailments. It's about keeping the project on track even when faced with those changing requirements.
All right, so change control is about protecting the project plan while still being adaptable to, like, new information, new needs. It's about striking that balance between structure and flexibility.
That's a great way to put it. It's about having a system in place to manage change effectively without letting it derail the project.
Do you have, like, a real-world example to illustrate how change control might play out, in a typical project scenario?
Of course. Let's say you're managing a website redesign project for a client. You've gathered their requirements, you've crafted a detailed plan, development is well underway. And then out of the blue, the client decides they want to add a whole new e-commerce feature to the website.
Oh, no. That's not just a minor tweak. That's a whole new functionality. That could significantly impact the project scope.
Exactly. And a less experienced project manager might panic, maybe jump into accommodating this request without thinking it through. But a savvy project manager, they would activate their trusty change control process.
So they would take a deep breath, assess the situation, resist the urge to immediately say yes to the client.
Precisely. They'd sit down with the client, fully understand their needs and the rationale behind this new request. Then, they would assess the feasibility of incorporating this e-commerce feature within the existing timeline and budget.
So it's about asking those tough questions. Can we actually do this? If so, what will it cost? And how will it impact the rest of the project?
Exactly. And based on that assessment, they might propose different options to the client. Maybe the e-commerce feature can be implemented, but it will require a revised timeline or budget. Or perhaps it's not feasible within the current project scope and needs to be treated as a separate phase, project altogether.
So it's about having those open and honest conversations with the client, exploring different options, and making informed decisions together.
That's the essence of change control, finding the best way to adapt to changing circumstances while still keeping your project on track.
Well, I'm feeling much more confident about managing change now. It's not about resisting it altogether. It's about having a system in place to handle it gracefully and strategically.
That's the spirit. Change is inevitable, but with the right approach, it can be an opportunity for growth and improvement, not a source of chaos and stress.
That's a great takeaway. We've covered a lot of ground in Module 2. Let's quickly recap the key areas we explored. Tracking progress against the plan. Using tools like Gantt charts, Kanban boards, and dashboards to stay on top of those tasks and deadlines. Identifying and managing risks early. Creating a risk register. Conducting regular risk reviews. And developing mitigation strategies to address potential problems before they derail the project. Keeping an eye on budget and resources. Relentlessly tracking costs against the budget, ensuring efficient resource allocation, and being prepared to adjust the budget or scope as needed. Managing stakeholder expectations. Communicating regularly with stakeholders, holding those check-in meetings, being transparent about progress and challenges, and keeping clear documentation of decisions. And finally, handling change requests wisely. Implementing a structured change control process to assess the impact of changes, get stakeholder approval, and make informed decisions about how to accommodate new requests without jeopardizing the project.
Excellent summary. You've captured the essence of Module 2 beautifully.
Now, before we move on to Module 3, I want to give our listeners a moment to reflect on what we've discussed. Think about a project you're currently working on, or one you've completed in the past. Ask yourself, were you actively tracking progress throughout the project? Or were you just kind of hoping for the best? What tools or techniques did you use? Did you have a system in place to identify and manage potential risks? How effective was your risk management strategy? Were stakeholder expectations clearly defined and communicated from the start? How did you manage communication and feedback from stakeholders? And if scope changes arose, was there a structured process for handling them? Did you effectively control scope creep?
Those are great questions to ponder. Reflecting on your own experiences can really help solidify these concepts and identify areas where you might refine your project management skills.
Absolutely. It's all about that continuous learning, continuous improvement.
Well said. And that brings us to Module 3, where we'll explore some specific tools and techniques that can help you take your project monitoring and control to the next level.
Welcome back to the Virgin Palms Project Management Bootcamp. We're diving into Module 3, Tools and Techniques for Project Monitoring and Control. It's time to equip ourselves with the right gear to make project management smoother, more efficient.
Think of it as upgrading your toolkit with those, high-performance gadgets that make all the difference. We've talked about the why and the how of project control. Now let's explore the what, the specific tools and techniques that can really elevate your game.
I'm all ears. Let's start with earned value management, or EVM. It sounds a bit intimidating at first glance, but I'm sure you can demystify it for us.
EVM is a powerful technique that helps you measure project performance by comparing planned progress and costs to what's actually been achieved. Think of it as taking a data-driven pulse check on your project.
So EVM is about checking if we're on track, both in terms of schedule and budget. It's like a reality check for our project's progress.
That's a great way to put it. EVM provides that much-needed clarity, allowing you to make informed decisions based on data, not just gut feelings.
I can see how that would be incredibly valuable in keeping a project on course. But how does EVM actually work in practice? What are the key elements involved?
EVM involves tracking key metrics: planned value, earned value, and actual cost. Planned value is the budgeted cost of the work that was scheduled to be completed by a specific point in time. Earned value represents the value of the work that has actually been completed. And actual cost, as the name suggests, is the actual cost incurred for the work performed.
So we're essentially comparing what we plan to spend and achieve with what we've actually spent and achieved so far. It's like holding a mirror up to our project plan and seeing how it reflects reality.
You got it. And by analyzing these metrics, EVM can provide those valuable insights into project performance. For instance, if your earned value is lower than your planned value, it could indicate you're behind schedule or not delivering the expected output.
And I'm guessing that if the actual cost is higher than the planned value, that signals a potential budget overrun.
Exactly. EVM helps you spot these deviations early on, giving you the opportunity to take corrective action before they turn into major problems.
So it's like having a financial and scheduling early warning system built right into your project management process.
You could say that. EVM empowers you to make data-driven decisions and course correct as needed, keeping your project on a path to success.
All right, EVM, a powerful tool for keeping those projects on track. What's next on our list of techniques?
Next up, we have key performance indicators, or KPIs. These are measurable values that demonstrate how effectively you're achieving key project objectives. Think of them as signposts that tell you if you're moving in the right direction.
KPIs. I've heard that term tossed around a lot, but sometimes it feels a bit abstract. Can you give us some concrete examples of KPIs that project managers might use in the real world?
Absolutely. There are many different KPIs you can use depending on your project's nature and your specific goals. Some common ones include schedule variance, budget variance, and quality metrics.
Let's break those down a bit. Starting with schedule variance, what exactly does that measure?
Schedule variance, or SV, tells you whether the project is ahead of or behind schedule. It's calculated by subtracting the planned value from the earned value. A positive SV is a good sign you're ahead of schedule, but a negative SV means you're lagging behind and need to catch up.
So schedule variance is all about keeping an eye on those deadlines and making sure we're hitting those milestones.
Exactly. And then we have budget variance, or BV, which focuses on the financial health of the project. It reveals how much your actual costs deviate from the planned budget. A positive BV indicates you're under budget, while a negative BV means you're exceeding the budget.
Got it. So if I'm seeing a lot of red on my budget variance report, it's time to tighten the purse strings and get those costs under control.
Precisely. Budget variance is a critical indicator of your project's financial health. And lastly, we have quality metrics, which ensure that your deliverables are meeting those required standards. These metrics might include things like defect rates, customer satisfaction scores, or compliance with industry regulations.
So quality metrics are about making sure we're not just delivering on time and within budget, but also delivering a product or service that meets those quality expectations.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot where you're achieving all three objectives: schedule, budget, and quality.
KPIs, those signposts guiding us towards project success. What's our next technique?
Next, we'll delve into variance analysis. It's the process of comparing your expected results to your actual results and investigating the reasons for any significant differences. Think of it as a detective tool that helps you uncover hidden problems lurking beneath the surface of your project.
So we're talking about identifying those red flags before they turn into major fires. I like the sound of that. What are some of the things that variance analysis can help us detect?
Variance analysis can help you identify schedule variances, scope creep, resource allocation issues, even quality problems. It's about tracking those key metrics and paying close attention to any significant deviations from your plan.
So it's like a comprehensive health checkup for our project, identifying any areas that need attention.
That's a great way to think about it. And by digging deeper and understanding the root causes of those variances, you can develop targeted solutions to keep your project on track.
Variance analysis, a valuable addition to our project management toolkit. What's our final technique for today?
Our final technique focuses on using visual tools to monitor and control your projects. Control charts and dashboards. Think of them as your project's visual command center, providing those real-time insights and empowering you to make those data-driven decisions.
Control charts and dashboards. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Imagine you have a mountain of data about your project's progress. Schedule, budget, quality metrics, risks, and so on. How do you make sense of it all? Control charts and dashboards help you visualize that data, transforming it from a jumbled mess into clear, actionable insights.
It's like taking all those numbers in spreadsheets and turning them into something that our brains can actually process and understand.
Exactly. Let's start with control charts. These graphical representations of data over time help you identify trends, patterns, and deviations from the norm.
So a control chart might show how the number of defects in your software development project is trending over time, for example.
You got it. It's like watching your project's vital signs, seeing those patterns emerge, and alerting you to any potential problems early on.
Control chart's a powerful tool for spotting those trends and anomalies. Now tell me more about dashboards. How do they fit into this visual command center?
Dashboards are essentially centralized displays that provide a real-time snapshot of key project information. Imagine a single screen that shows you schedule progress, budget status, risk levels, team performance, and more, all in a clear, concise way.
It's like having a visual control panel for your entire project, where you can quickly assess the situation and make those critical decisions.
Precisely. And the best part is that dashboards can be customized to show the information that's most relevant to your specific project and role.
Control charts and dashboards, those visual tools that bring clarity and control to our complex projects. I love it.
They're definitely game changers in the world of project management. And with that, we've covered some of the key tools and techniques that can empower you to effectively monitor and control your projects.
This module has been a treasure trove of information. Let's recap what we've learned. Earned Value Management, EVM, a powerful technique for measuring project performance by comparing planned progress and costs to actual results, enabling data-driven decisions. Key performance indicators, KPIs, those measurable values that track your project's progress against specific goals, providing valuable insights into areas like schedule, budget, and quality. Variance analysis, the detective work of project management, comparing expected results to actual results and investigating those discrepancies to uncover hidden problems and develop targeted solutions. And finally, control charts and dashboards, the visual command center of your project, transforming data into clear, concise, and actionable insights through graphs, charts, and other visual representations.
Excellent summary. You've captured the essence of Module 3 beautifully.
Now, before we move on, I want to challenge our listeners with a few thought-provoking questions. What are some key metrics that you could start tracking in your projects to gain a deeper understanding of performance? Are there any KPIs that you're overlooking? How can you leverage visual tools like control charts and dashboards to make your project data more meaningful and actionable for your team? What insights are hidden within your data, waiting to be uncovered?
Those are great questions to ponder. Remember, the tools and techniques we've discussed today are only as effective as the people who use them.
Well said. It's not just about having the right tools. It's about understanding how to wield them effectively to make informed decisions and guide your projects towards success.
Absolutely. And with that, we've come to the end of the Virgin Palms Project Management Bootcamp. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. We hope you've gained those valuable insights and are now equipped to tackle any project that comes your way.
And remember, this bootcamp was brought to you by Virgin Palms. Visit our website at www.virginpalms.org to discover more project management resources and training programs that can help you excel in your project management endeavors.
Until next time, happy project managing.